What's going on, guys? Welcome to Shit Weasel of the Week. It's now time for this series to make its belated return to YouTube, ready for the upcoming election. Now, for any preceding week there has not been one of these shows, you can all be safe in the knowledge that the Ramona Parliament, which has recently been disbanded, was the undisputed Shit Weasel of the Week for every week since the last episode a few months back, for their consistent efforts to block the will of the British people, led by the likes of John Burkuck, Hilary Benn and Oliver Letwin, backed of course by all of the Ramona parties with the help of the 21 Tory traitors. So, Parliament as a whole has the distinct honour of holding the Shit Weasel of the Week award for around 12 consecutive weeks. No mean feat, let me tell you that. Now, for anyone new to the series, the criteria is simple. If someone acts like a shit weasel within the political or media sphere and I catch wind of it, they could be in the running for Shit Weasel of the Week. For our nominations, I have taken some of this past week's most anti-democratic, lying politicians and media hags to make up our shortlist. Of course, there are far too many prospective shit weasels each week to list everyone that has acted in such a way within the last 7 days. We are talking about UK politics here, remember. There are more shit weasels than not with the current crop of political figures in the United Kingdom. So, I took those I thought deserved to be in the running this week above all others. With that said, our first nomination is going to be Labour's election candidate, Jane Atchison, who suffered one of the most epic car crash interviews you will ever have the pleasure of hearing. This BBC Radio interview with Emma Barnett features the prospective Labour MP claiming it's okay that a fellow Labour PPC had wished Tony Blair dead because sometimes people wish bad people dead, and also she went completely silent for over 12 seconds. Let's refresh our memories of that.
And there's a Labour candidate called Zara Sultana who's had to apologise for saying she would celebrate the deaths of Tony Blair and Benjamin Netanyahu. Should she be allowed to stand?
I think that needs to be looked at, and I'm sure that it is.
It is being looked at. What's your opinion?
I don't know the details of it.
Well, I've just told you the detail. That's what she said. You're someone yourself who's been pulled up for previous social media posts, and you're standing.
I think
should she be able to stand?
Sometimes people say things that are they're very passionate, and they say things that are wrong. But I don't think that what she's saying there is necessarily worse than looking down on the people of Grenfell who died in a fire. That's what we've experienced.
So, sorry, we're in a situation of top trumps. What's worse, talking about people in a tower who should have got out versus celebrating the deaths of 2 former Prime Ministers and a current Prime Minister? Is that really what you're saying?
Well, it's not good, is it? But what I'm saying is that we've got people who say these things. Should they all be banned from standing? Are we only going to allow
Well, I'm asking you a specific.
Stand?
Do you think she should be able to stand for saying she should celebrate the deaths of Tony Blair and Benjamin Netanyahu? You've just got through a selection process to be the candidate here.
I think I'd like to talk to her and see what she was really trying to say, and is she apologising? I don't know. If she's apologising, then I think that would be okay.
I mean, as I say,
you've
had your own experiences because of this.
Do celebrate deaths sometimes? It's not good, is it? Is it really good to celebrate deaths? It's not. But people do sometimes because they feel strongly about whatever that person represented.
Sorry, I have to just pause on that. You've actually just said sometimes people do celebrate deaths.
Of course they do.
So you sound like you're defending what could be a celebration of the death of Tony Blair.
No, I'm not. But
that's what she said.
I'm not. What I'm saying is that people, for instance, they celebrated the death of Hitler. It's not tasteful, but it's,
it's there.
A worthy candidate for Shit Weasel of the Week, if ever there was one. What an incredible foot-in-mouth interview by this dopey bin, with her silence saying more than she ever could, or should. But moving on, our second nomination is going to be the Sky News host Kay Burley, who thought it would be a good idea to pull the now common mainstream media stunt that involves empty chairing a Brexit supporting MP. In this case, it was the Tory party chairman, James Cleverly, who Kay Burley, the Ramoning Trout, decided to empty chair, claiming he was booked to appear on her show, during a nigh on 3-minute rant that was quickly picked apart by Julia Hartley-Brewer, who actually had James Cleverly on her show moments later in what was a pre-booked interview, clearly proving Kay Burley is nothing more than a Ramoning spear merchant with the integrity of a wet fart. So let's take a look. Mouth, as they say.
Oh, I'm fuming. I can't even begin to tell you how cross I am. You're watching K Burley at breakfast. I've got an empty chair here. It was supposed to be filled, I should say, by the chairman of the Conservative Party. Where is he? He's probably 15 feet away from where I'm standing, just at the moment. I've been in to see him during the break. He said he wasn't due to come and talk to us today, although they had said that they would talk to us. I wanted to ask him about things like this, which is the front page of The Telegraph, the tragedy of the modern Labour Party and the boss, comparing Jeremy Corbyn to Stalin, persecuting the kulaks. I wanted to ask him about that. I'm going to put that paper down because I want to show you the empty chair again. I also wanted to ask him about the Grenfell incident. And, of course, you'll know what was said by a member of the Cabinet, rees-mogg, talking about the people in Grenfell, suggesting that he's smarter than they were, which is why they stayed in their properties. You'll remember, sadly, how many people perished in that. Why on earth is he still a member of the Cabinet? I wanted to ask him about that. There you go. There's your empty chair. I also wanted to ask him about the Welsh Secretary and calls for him to resign over the conduct of a former aide. I also wanted to ask him about a row over whether the transition will be extended if we don't have a deal by the end or the middle of 2020. I also wanted to ask him about a different row over attempts to get officials to cost Labour policies. I also wanted to ask him about the row over the failure to publish the report into Russian interference. And I also wanted to ask him whether he thought that the Conservatives were having a good day. I also wanted to ask him about his suggestion, or certainly his boss's suggestion, that Jeremy Corbyn was demonising billionaires and whether or not it was a good idea to defend billionaires at the very start of the campaign. I know that Number 10 Downing Street watch our show. I know that the spin doctors at Number 10 Downing Street had absolutely reassured me via text that when politicians were doing the rounds in the morning, they would be doing this programme. And yet we have an empty chair. Where on earth is he? He is 15 feet away from me, James Cleverly, who is the chairman of the Conservative Party, and he says he will not come on this programme to answer all of those allegations. How do you feel about that, viewers? You can tweet me directly if you would like to, at K Burley. Let me know your thoughts. I'm fuming.
You seem to be causing something of a stir. Kay Burley on Sky News has just empty-chaired you, rather cross with you not going on her show. Why not?
Well, because we hadn't booked in to go on her show, and I was sitting in this studio preparing to talk to you, as I'm now doing, and she said, I want you to come on my show now. And I like to think I'm a pretty decent multitasker, but I cannot physically be in two places at the same time.
Well, we're very glad to have you, as you were booked at this time to talk to us. Thank you very much indeed.
True shit weasel behaviour, and definitely a worthy entry into this week's nomination. The third entry this week is going to be Jo Swinson, who has been running around claiming she is going to be the next Prime Minister in what has to be the UK's greatest political delusion of grandeur we will ever likely see. This imbecile got entirely roasted by BBC's Andrew Neil, who ripped apart her fantasy politics and misleading election campaigning material, claiming the Lib Dems are the second party in Jacob Rees-Mogg's constituency, when in actual fact they were third on 8%, with Labour second on 34%, and JRM first with 53% of the vote, of course. Hence, he was the MP until this election was called. So, let's see Andrew Neil trounce this anti-democratic fuckpig once again.
You forming the next government. Here's one of your leaflets. Here, I'll just show it up for the camera to see it. It says, Jo Swinson, Britain's next Prime Minister. When did you indulge in fantasy politics?
I'm standing as a candidate to be Prime Minister, Andrew.
No one stands as a candidate to be Prime Minister. You're standing as a candidate in Easington Barton.
I'm standing as the leader of the Liberal Democrats, and you're right, we have a parliamentary democracy system, and the leader of the party who secures the most MPs or a majority of MPs becomes Prime Minister.
Believe it or not, I do know how it works.
So that is the sense in which I'm a candidate to be Prime Minister.
But you know, I know, our viewers know, you're not going to be the next Prime Minister.
Well, hang on a second, Andrew. We're about to have a general election where millions of people out there are going to cast their votes.
We know that.
And exactly. And it's not up to you to tell them what they can and can't choose.
No, you can't play. I'm not telling them. I'm not telling them. I'm saying that from everything we know about politics, our viewers, you as well, every commentator knows you're not the next Prime Minister, and it's unrealistic for you to say so.
I cannot disagree with you more on this, Andrew. Right? We are in a very volatile political situation. Plenty of people said they didn't think Jeremy Corbyn would become leader of the Labour Party. Plenty of people said they didn't think Donald Trump would ever become president of the United States. Plenty of people said that they didn't think that Brexit would ever happen. We have seen many unprecedented political results in recent years.
So would you rule out global domination?
I'm standing...
I mean, you're probably as good a chance of that as being Prime Minister.
Him saying indulging in fantasy politics to her will never get old, I swear. And the shitweasel behaviour that leads you to so blatantly lie on campaign material is fitting of these anti-democratic, illiberal undemocrats. Lying and deceiving the British people is all Jo Swinson and her Romaniacs know how to do. Now, the fourth and final person on this shortlist for nominations is going to be the Change UK leader, Anna Soubry, who leads a party consisting of her and her co-leader. So essentially, she's an independent MP who just the other day claimed Leave voters intended to vote for her, which most people just laughed off as the kind of fantasy politics our previous nomination is famous for, and forgot about it, of course. Turns out though, Anna Soubry did not forget about her claims, because she tried to back them up in a campaign video featuring a man she claimed was a Leave voter in the 2016 referendum and planned to vote for her in the upcoming election. The only problem with that was the internet has a knack of coming back and biting these incompetent, out-of-touch MPs right in the arsehole, as it did with Parliament's resident pisshead. A Twitter user named OptoSean found evidence that proved the man in her video was former Liberal Democrat by-election candidate Graham Hill, who campaigned for Remain in the 2016 referendum. So clearly not a Leave voter. Let's see the Anna Soubry clip one last time, just for the shit and giggle of it.
Graham, you voted Leave, but you're going to vote for me in this general election. Thank you for that. I'm really grateful. It's very good of you. Got to explain it.
No problem. Well, no, like I said, I voted Leave in the referendum, but my version of Leave is the softest Leave possible. I want to see a Norway, EEA, EFTA-style agreement. Certainly not this hard Brexit that's being promoted now, where this crash out simply mustn't happen. And therefore, in order to get that sort of Leave that I'm looking for, it has to come back as a referendum, in my view.
And is that why you're voting for me? Because I believe in that people's vote?
Exactly, yes. It's the only way to resolve this now. And there's no other way that can be done, so a referendum has got to be the way forward. Yes.
But there's something else, isn't there? Because you've been doing all the hard work in the forum, HS2. Just talk to us about that, because we both agree about that as well, don't we?
No, HS2, I think, is vital for our area in Towton. It's got to regenerate the whole of the Towton Sidings area, and it'll be a springboard for much more than just a station there. We want to see the regeneration of that area with new housing for sure, we understand that, but it's got to be much bigger than that. And with this innovation campus, it will then provide the springboard again for much more activity and much more growth, if you like, for all of us. And given Chetwynd Barracks, it's a beautiful site there. We must make the best of that when it goes forward as a separate garden village.
Well, you've done a great job on the forum. Thank you for that, and thank you for all your support. It means a lot.
No problem, no problem. Glad to help.
Well, once again, guys, a very worthy nomination, if ever there was one. Now, we have all our nominations for this week. It's time to announce this week's winner. But first, some honourable mentions. Jeremy Corbyn is one of them, who was trolled by a 15-year-old boy this past week and deserves a mention. This kid got Corbyn to sign a piece of paper that said Corbyn sympathises with terrorists and is paid by Iranian TV. It was a class act, so we will show it here one more time.
Number 10. I love that jacket. You'll have to bring it with you. Oh, absolutely. I'll see you there. Thanks. See you there, sir. Jackie, you'll have to bring it with you. Oh, absolutely. I'll see you there. Thanks. See you there, sir.
Another honourable mention should be the Labour Party in general, claiming the NHS will be sold off to Trump. So the party as a whole deserves this honourable mention for trying to use this out-of-date and already debunked bit of Project Fear during an election campaign. And our final honourable mention will be John Burkuck, who had the absolute audacity to say that Brexit was one of the gravest mistakes this country has made. Any one of these honourable mentions could have had their own nomination, but our candidates, I feel, went above and beyond with their own shitweasel ways, and I didn't want to make this video too long by adding 20 odd nominations, which I could easily do to every one, of course. Now, it was a tough choice this week, as it is with every week. 3 of the 4 really stood out to me from the very start. So on that basis, I eliminated Jane Atchison first and foremost, because while she acted like a complete shitweasel, the others eclipsed even her comments about wishing people dead, along with the 12-second deafening silence. That left us with Joe Swinson, Anna Soubry and Ramonin Spunk Trumpet K Burley to fight it out for first, second and third when it comes to this week's Shitweasel of the Week. This is where the decision became really tough, because all of the reasons for their nominations showed us new levels of snivelling shitweasel behaviour, like they was trying to outdo one another. In the end though, I had to make a choice for who I thought truly deserved to win this week's prestigious award, and after much deliberation I did. So, without further ado, let me get a drum roll please. The UK's resident pisshead, Anna Sozelberry, for the snivelling shitweasel video that claimed the Lib Dem Ramona was a Leave voter, which, of course, was swiftly called out on Twitter, proving this alkie is not fit to be in office and fully deserves this week's title of Shitweasel of the Week. So, congratulations Anna Soubry. You are this week's Shitweasel of the Week. Next time you want to lie in campaign material, claiming someone is a Leave voter, pay an unknown actor to play the part, not some Lib Dem reject who it seems is a serial loser, like yourself, that lacks the ability to scrub their Twitter feed properly. Now, for next week's nominations, if you want to have your say on who is up for Shitweasel of the Week, join the channel's Discord and navigate to the Shitweasel of the Week's nominations text channel, where you can leave your nomination and a reason why you feel they deserve this glamorous award. Now, as always, I want to thank our PayPal, Patreon and Subscribestar members for supporting the channel, along with everyone who watches my videos. Remember to let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe with the notification bell and share this video as it helps the channel a lot. And I will see you all in the next one.
This Parliament is a dead Parliament. It should no longer sit. It has no moral right to sit on these green benches. They don't like the truth. Twice they have been asked to let the electorate decide upon whether they should continue to sit in their seats, while they block 17.4 million people's votes. This Parliament is a disgrace. But they're too cowardly to give it a go. But the time is coming. The time is coming, Mr. Speaker, when even these turkeys won't be able to prevent Christmas.